What's poppin', homies? It's your favorite homegirl, Gossip Girl, and today I want to talk to you about a tragedy that happened to Valeesha Duncan, 31 years old. She pulled into her driveway on Tuesday morning after work, but she was ambushed with 50 shots firing towards her, okay? So let's get into that because this is really a tragedy. She's 31 years old and was ambushed with 50 shots. Now, who in the world would want to do this to this young woman? And she was a mom. It says here in Harris County, Texas, deputies in Texas say a gunman fired about 50 shots at a woman as she arrived from work. She arrived home from work, killing her, like she's done so many times before. 31-year-old Valeesha Duncan pulled into her driveway on Tuesday morning after work, but then 50 shots were fired towards her. She died within moments. There are a lot of unanswered questions about the crime, including whether Duncan was the intended target. Now, Timothy Richard grew up with Duncan and they have a son together. He was among many family members who rushed to the scene looking for answers. It's got to be something else behind this. She's not like that. She don't get into any altercations. Like I said, she's a very sweet person, he said. As investigators cataloged the shell casings and interviewed witnesses, Rhonda Thornton, the block captain, spoke for her neighborhood. In 29 years, she's lived on the same street. The last thing she expected was a young mother to be gunned down, especially so violently. I feel safe living here. I will never worry about closing my eyes and going to sleep, not once. So yeah, it's kind of a shock, she said. We mostly have just a few things going on, maybe unlocked cars, getting broken into, something being stolen out of a garbage. But other than that, nothing like this. Now, deputies believe there was only one shooter involved. They're asking more surveillance videos, but say a primary investigation showed a dark-colored sedan leaving the scene. This is really, really weird. Now, when I went looking around on the internet about this, and sometimes you gotta look in comments, okay, in the comment section of the news, someone said that she worked at a gentleman's club. Now, I'm not sure about that because they did not say where her workplace was. So sometimes you gotta look at more than one article and see what information you can get. But she pulled into her driveway. As she always does. And someone was waiting for her and fired 50 shots at her car. Now, we don't know if it was intended for her. But if it wasn't intended for her, then who was it intended for? Now, also it says here, as they search for the shooter, police still haven't answered the question whether the 31-year-old mother was even the intended target, as we discussed. Now, officials have only said they do not believe the shooting is a result of a domestic violence situation. So it really is a mystery. Like, this young woman, 31 years old, pulls into her driveway and someone just ambushes her with 50 shots? Come on now, there's something, something else got to be behind this. Something else has to be behind this. Now, Timothy Richard, they grew up together and they have a son together. And he was there on the scene just like her family member was. And he said he doesn't understand who would do this to her. So sometimes, and I'm not saying in this case it is, but sometimes things happen to people who is not intended for. And what I mean by that, maybe this wasn't for her. maybe it was for somebody else and they sent in a message, but still, there's a big who surrounding the whole thing. Like, why was this done? Who, if it wasn't for her, who were they looking for? If they wasn't looking for her, who were they looking for? You know, it's a lot of questions, it's a lot of mystery, and this is crazy. She's 31 years old, and this happened to her. Like, so I'm definitely going to stay on this case and find out anything that I can and give you guys updates as possible as I can. Because this is, it's really a mystery. Okay, so it says here, another article. She was murdered after returning home from her job at a gentleman's club. So she did work at a gentleman's club. Now, that's something to look into. Now, because she worked at a gentleman's club, did somebody try to approach her in a way and she turned them down? And then they was like, well, this is what this is like the revenge of getting her back. We don't know. It says the shooting happened just before 5:30 a.m. Tuesday at a home on Apple Tree Hill Lane. Okay, that's where it happened at. She was ambushed in her garage. As she pulled into her garage, she was ambushed. The victim was returning from her job at the Galleria area Gentleman's Club when she was shot at a dozen times. Well, more than that, because a dozen is 12, so she was shot over a dozen times. She was wounded and died at the scene. The only information we have is a dark-colored vehicle that pulled up. Someone got out, shot approximately 50 rounds at her, said Major Susan Carter with HCSO. She pulled into the garage. She was able to exit the vehicle, and she was found deceased in the garage. The victim's vehicle was riddled with bullets. Major Carter said the woman lived at the home where the shooting happened, but they didn't know if anyone else lived with her. Neighbors said they heard multiple gunshots, and one said it sounded like a machine gun. Investigators are looking for a dark sedan along with the surveillance video from the security camera in the areas. Now, Gianna Delaney, who lives near the home, says she was awake when the shooting happened. It was so fast. Another neighbor, Bonnie, agreed. It was just really fast. It sounded like a machine gun to me. I was shaking. Delaney said, I was scared. I was just so scared. I didn't want to look out the window because I didn't know if they were going to come back and do it again. The family of the victim gathered near the home, overcome with emotions and grief. Timothy identified the victim as 31-year-old Valeesha Duncan. He called her his best friend. We have a child together, and I'm the ex. That goes to show you, if I can say positive things and for us to still be friends, that just goes to show you a lot about her character, Timothy said. Duncan and Timothy's 11-year-old son was not home, thank God for that, at the time of the shooting. Timothy said their son knows what happened to his mom. He's trying to process this tragedy. She's a good person, very sweet, very kind. Something like this is crazy, Timothy said. He said they were supposed to finish school shopping this week for their son, who was set to start middle school soon. Now, Major Carter said they're trying to determine if Duncan was targeted. She said they have recovered surveillance video from a nearby home, and all they can say right now is that the suspect pulled up in a dark-colored sedan. So they need to go back to the Gentleman's Club and ask questions, grab video footage, because something is not right. Something is not right. She worked there. Her Timothy, her child's father, says she was a sweet person. She's not She's not into altercations or anything like that. So it could have been someone who been trying to get with her or trying to hook up with her, and she turned them down. Because let me tell you something. When you reject guys these days and at this day and age, they will come after you for anything. So they need to ask questions at the club that she worked at. You know, try to pull all cameras from the neighborhood. Something is just not right. Something is just not right. And there's a lot of questions but no answers. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. If you heard about this case, let me know in the comment section. And what do you think happened here? It's just so sad. And, you know, my prayers and condolences to her family. She left behind an 11-year-old son, you know, and a host of family and friends. So I'm going to leave you guys with this, and I'll talk to you guys later. And when I know more, you will know more.